I see. So this is what we're going to cover today. I'm going to show you how to do a gauge chart, like a KPI chart. I'm also going to show you how to do a waterfall chart in the new version of Excel, which has a waterfall type of chart. And I'm also going to show you in the old version of Excel where you have to take column chart and kind of adjust it to achieve what you want. Then I'm going to show you how to build dynamic scenarios, you know, how you can, in your forecast, in your plan, how you can allow people to be able to say, okay, what if this does not happen? You know, what if instead of 2 naira per, I don't know, per cost of a particular unit item, I mean, unit cost of an item, what if it is 3 naira? What if inflation is this? What if exchange rate is that? You know, how you're able to put that dynamically into your forecast, into your plans, into your models. I'm going to walk us through how we do that. So not to lose any time, let's get started. So I'm going to switch my, I have 2 screens. So I will go to the work screen right now, and then I'm going to switch the share so that I'll be sharing the particular screen where the main practice file and all is. So maybe I should share with us. Well, I'll share the practice file when I'm done. You know, that way it will have everything I have done. Okay, so just pay attention so you don't miss anything. So let's start with the gauge. Imagine you want a report like this. You know, something that is going to show. Let me see if I need to increase my. Let me just try to increase my screen resolution. Or the zoom anyway, so that you will see my text clearer. So while that is happening, imagine that you have a boss who wants to see at a speedometer, you know, like a speed gauge, you know, some things about what they are tracking, you know, different KPIs, right? So how do we achieve that? Once my screen comes up or something like this, how do we achieve this? So are you ready? So if you want to achieve this, you know, this kind of a chart, there's no chart in Excel that does this. If you go to Insert and you look at all of the different chart types, there is no chart type that will get for us this thing you are looking at on my screen. You know, so let's take a look at all the chart types. See column chart, line chart, pie chart, bar chart, area chart. Keep looking at this upper side. You know, keep looking at this portion of my screen. You will notice that as I'm going through all the different chart types, right, there is no particular type of chart that is a gauge. These are all and this is the latest version of Excel. So this is the entire collection of charts that you can access in Excel. There is none that has the gauge that you are seeing right here. So how did I achieve this? So I need to let you know that, well, I got some help. I got a lot of help, particularly from, I'm going to paste the website, you know, of all I've been doing this for some time, but you know, something that you don't do that very frequently, you forget, right? So I had to go check up on, okay, you know, let me try and do it again before the session starts. And I found even a better way than the way I've been doing mine before. So I'm going to share it with us. So I got a lot of useful tips. You know, this blog post helped a lot with the version that I'm going to demo. With the version I will demo. So, you know, in case if you want to read more or anyway, I adjusted it. So, and I'm going to share with you this practice file. So let's start, right? I want to build this chart from scratch. For me to build this chart from scratch, I need to set up the things that I'm going to use to do the chart. Okay, so we need to, usually you prefer to have your setup in a separate place. So you prefer that your setup is somewhere different from where your chart is going to display. Okay, so I need to monitor my screen. So let me just plug a second screen so that I can monitor the charts and whatever anybody says. Sorry, I have 3 screens, so I just remembered it to be nicer to put the live presentation on another screen so that I don't struggle with anything. So just doing that, almost done. Right, now to second screen. All right, so I can continue. So I'm going to do the build up. We're going to use 3 things, right? We need what we need. We need 3 components. So we need 3 components. Component 1 is going to be, well, we need a donut chart that will show like a scale. Like, let me just show you what I mean. You see here, the uppermost side of my graph has like a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 scale. Huh? This is going to be really, really useful. So we need to have a donut chart that is going to show us that. So I need a donut chart for that, donut chart for the scale, for the uniform scale. Okay, then I need another donut chart. I need another donut chart for the spread that will show what is red for poor, that will show us like yellow for average, green for good, right? That will show us for the KPI performance, should I call that scale now? So the green, the red, yellow, green kind of scale, right? Then finally, we are going to need a pie chart to show the pointer. So the gauge pointer, this pointer you're looking at, it's a pie chart. So are you ready? Okay, so if you're ready, let's get to it. If you have any question, always feel free to ask. There's no strict rule. You can ask your questions whenever they come to mind. So, all right. I'm also monitoring the chat box, so that's what I'm looking at right now. This stuff. So let's get to it. So number 1, let us do the number one donut, right? The donut for the scale. So I'm going to start with the donut for the scale. So that donut for the scale, well, I'm just going to create some scale values and say 10, 10. I'm going to do them in steps of 10. And I'm going to need about, how many will I need? I'm going to need 10 of them. So I think there should be 10 of them or some. So now the trick is this. I want the scale. Okay, not a problem. Once I do it, you will understand. Now, if I choose this scale and I go to pie charts and I go to donuts, now this is what will happen, right? For a gauge is almost like half of a circle, right? So I need this my scale. I need all the scales to pop up at the upper parts. So I need the scale to pop up at the upper parts, and I knock off the lower part, right? So as you can see here, where the scale is all entirely on the upper half of a circle, right? So for me to achieve that, I need to include like another completely 100. This is 100. If you look at it actually, this is 100. Okay, so this 100, this is like 10, 10, 10, like 10 in 10 places, which is 100. If you look at, let me sum it up so that we know that it's actually 100. So this is 100, right? So I'm going to need a double of it. This is even nice. This will get me with that. So I need another 100 so that it will become like half, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to extend my chart. So now I'm having it, but unfortunately, it's looking like my scale, my gauge is now like is now facing the right? I would rather have it face up. Okay. So that is not difficult to fix. So I'm just going to right click on anywhere on the chart, go to format data series. So now I hope you can see my screen now. You can see this place that says angle of first slice. So I'm going to rotate it in such a way that all those places that are like slice, 10, will face exactly up. Okay. So the perfect angle to achieve that is 270. So once I switch this to 270, voila, you can see it's facing up, right? So much trouble, but it's gonna be worth it in the end. So I'm going to, if you're using this new version of Excel, always padding it with some outline. So I'm going to go here, knock off the outline, no outline. Okay, good. I'm going to click on this bottom part only and say, okay, brush, do not add any fill color. See, it's looking like it, right? Okay, so well, these colors are too much. These are all like rainbow colors, right? So we're going to change it to something like this kind of, a color that is not going to compete with the actual KPI colors, right? Something that will just help us to understand that these are the scaling of our gauge. So not a problem. I'm going to use the very same color specs I used in the one I've been showing us the images anyway. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to oscillate between these. Just quickly pick as many. So good. Then I'm going to do a darker shade. Let's see. So I'm going to do this for the other remaining ones. Okay. So it's getting here gradually. Now I want my donut to be fatter. This is really a thin donut. If I sell this kind of donut to you, you are not going to be happy. So I'm going to reduce the hole of the donut. So the more you reduce the size of the hole, the fatter the donut becomes. I think this is kind of better. This is good. We can always change it again. So we are getting there gradually. So another thing I want to do is I want to add the data label. Okay. So if I go in here and I say, so my Excel actually has a glitch. You see, I'm supposed to click on this plus sign to add the data label, but it's always disappearing. And because I think I am always using the beta version. So for you, it will be something that will show, and you click on that plus and you add the data label. But for me, I have to go to the menu side, go to which is under chart design, add chart element, add data label, and I'm going to go to the more data label options so that I'm going to get some options that I want. So right now you see it's showing 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. But that is not going to be what I want. I want it to be like 10, 20, 30, like that. So for me to do that, I think it's better I create another side where I'm going to call the label anyway. So I'm going to call it label. So it's just be me creating something that makes it to be like, like this kind of anyway. So now that I have done this will be what I will use for my label. So I click on the label. Let me even make this big so that the things can be much more visible. So I click on the label, then I go here, label options. I say from cells, and from cells, well, from this particular cells. So that's what I want. I don't want the value. So this is what I want, right? So it becomes 10, 20, you get it. So this is where things can be a bit annoying. I would rather want these things to be at the edge. So far I couldn't find a very fast way to do it. It still has to be like a manual drag. So I pick and I drag. Drag to the corners. canvas. I don't want lead lines. So I don't want lead lines. Leader lines I need. So I knock those leader lines off. Okay, so I drag. Drag, and I think we are there. Okay, so we are done with the scale. So I need to do the second donut, right? So I need one more donut that is going to be for the performance, the KPI scale. So the KPI scale now. So for this KPI scale, let's say if you do from 0 to 30%, you know, that's your performance is going to be really bad. So 30 will be bad, like really poor, or what English should I use? Let's say bad, poor, good, very bad. Let's put bad. You can always switch it to what you want. Then, if you do from 30 to 70 or 30 to 60, we could say that is average, or that will be our yellow, right? Maybe this should be 40 then, because actually, then we could make this 65 or something, or 70. Yeah. Then we could now say from that, you know, so that means it will be 30 because, you know, pie chart does cumulative anyway. So the remaining 30 will be good. Okay, so that way we have the breakout of our scale. All right, so now that I've done that, as usual, I'm going to select these figures, right? So I'm going to make the plot here. But because I want my centers to be completely perfectly aligned, I don't want to be. So when I used to do, you know, many years ago, I used to be the one who will now place one chart exactly on top of the other. But with that guy's method that I shared with you, you know, I no longer have that struggle. In case you used to do the one where you do the chart separately and start like overlaying one on top of the other, this method will save you that stress. So what we do is we go to chart design, you select data. So this brings out the chart engine. This is what I call it for our participants. If you've done any of my training before, you probably have heard me say something like that. Oh, this is the chart engine where you change anything you want. So I'm going to come in here and add the donut chart. So I'm going to add, I'm going to call it Kpi Scale. And then as per the data series, it's going to be this. So, as usual, we're going to face another problem that, you know, we faced before, which is that we want all of our data to be plotted on the upper side. So you know how we fixed it before now? It was to just, so let me do okay here. So you see this is going around the entire circle, let me just let you be aware. If I make this, the first one is supposed to be, what color? Okay, anyway, I wanted to use the color before, but it's not going to work fast. Fine. I'm even confused which color is for what. So if I do that addition again, so that we now have the sum, so that exactly, so are you seeing my screen now? So that way I'm having everything on the upper side, and then I'm having the part that I will click on and say, you know, Excel, I need you to make this thing invisible, no field. Awesome. So are you seeing it? Then what other thing am I going to do? The color, right? So I need to do something about the color. Then this arrangement is not looking nice. My uniform scale should be outside, and just like what I have here, the uniform scale should be outside, and this one should be inside, right? So let's quickly fix that one. If I go back in here, select data, I'm going to move my KPI scale up. So, okay, so that my uniform scale is outside. Okay, so I do okay. This is not nice. This has gone a bit off. If I had known, I should have done this before clicking OK. So my figures would have shifted far away from the uniform scale. Not a problem. It's just those are the inefficient part of the whole section anyway. So we are almost there. I need to adjust these colors, right? So this is going to be red. So I'm going to go in here, turn this color red. This is going to be yellow. So this is going to be yellow. This is, I hope you hear me loud and clear. I hope I'm not too far from the mic because I'm using like
we can hear you very clearly.
Oh, okay, thank you for that confirmation. So I'm going to turn this color green. So this is the shiny green. This label is not accurate. So as for these labels, I wanted to pick again from cell. So you should pick these labels, you know. So these are the labels that I want. I do not want it to show value and I do not want it to show leader line. So good. So something like this is what I want. And then maybe I can make this one white. So I can make this white and bold. White and bold. This can still be black and bold. Okay, so we are almost there. I think this should also be a bit bigger. It looks like it's starting. Okay, this is better in terms of size. And I need to knock off that outline. That outline. So this is looking like it. We are almost there. So we are left with the third one. So if you remember what I said, we need 3 components, right? We've done component 1, a donut chart to do the uniform scale. Component 2, another donut chart to do the Kpi scale. Then now the third component, which is going to be a pie chart to do the pointer. So we're going to need 3 pie charts, which will do the pointer. So for this one, the trick is we need to make it always equal to 200. 200 is that magic number. And you know why 200? The reason is, if you look at our scale, this is a scale of 100, right? But if you remember, that is actually 200, so that the lower part will knock off, right? So if I'm going to also do this, I will need something that will be like 100 and 200. I think these numbers, every time I adjust the chart, they keep scattering. So I'm going to not adjust it again until I'm perfectly done, so that I won't have to be adjusting the label position. Ordinarily, I should have chosen outside end. But when you do a donut chart, you don't get the option to choose the position of the label to the outside end, hence the manual way. All right, so for the pie chart, I need things that will equal 200. So I need like a position, the achievement. Let me call it the achievement or the value. Then I need the thickness, the pointer thickness. Then I need the remainder, or should I say the thing that will fill up the other space to 200. So this achievement now, you will want it to be linked to what you want to plot. So I want to plot that we achieve 70% of our goal, or that percentage thing, or that figure that should be on the scale is what you are going to point to the achievement. So because this is in percentage, I'm going to have to multiply by 100 to come up in a number. So as for thickness, you can always adjust anyway, but usually 1 is a good size. Then the remainder is going to always be equal to 200 minus the sum of these two, this plus this. Okay, so that's what help us with the remainder. So, as usual, we are going to select our chart. Let me reduce the screen size. I'm going to select the chart, go in here and say I want to add another one. So I want to add another series. And in this case, I want to add this that we have here. Series name is going to be achievements. The series values is going to be this one. Okay. So now that I've done that, so is there anything I need to adjust here? It looks good. So I need to change this to a pie chart so that the pointer is going to start from the middle instead of it just starting. This is that pointer. This orange stuff is the pointer. So I want it to be from the middle, and it's only a pie chart that can start from the middle. So I'm going to select this, right click, and say I want to change the series chart type to a pie chart. So I'm changing this to a pie chart. So I do OK. Voila. Now that I've changed it to a pie chart, some things look to have gone wrong. Number one, my pointer is not pointing the right direction. So that one is not difficult to fix. It's the same thing we've been doing. We have to shift our graph by that 270 degrees. So that will help with the pointer being in the right place. Then every other thing becomes like what we've been doing. You pick the parts that should not display. Say the fill color should be no fill. I do likewise for this other part that should not display, no fill. Voila. Hey, what we are cooking is getting done. The outline, again, you remove it. Let me show you why the outline I need to see. My pointer is looking like it's starting from like middle of my circle. It's that outline. So I have to remember to knock it off. So are you seeing that it's starting proper now? Then there's one nice trick. If you pick just the pointer section, so you have to make sure it's only the pointer. Let me do that again. If I pick, it picks everything. I pick just the pointer section. Then you see on this side of my screen, on this right side of my screen, you see this pointer explosion. I'm going to increase it. I just wish you'd be able to see. Let me see if I can. Good. You will see that as I increase it, something is going to be happening to that pointer arrow. It's growing in size, right? It's growing. So it's a nice thing. It makes it look really, gives us a nice effect. So the pointer looks to kind of point out beyond the scale. Okay. So we are almost there. I don't need this one. I don't need all these ones. So kind of this is it. This is it. So it's just to again readjust this one, which is annoying. So you have to make sure you have done all of your sizes sometime before you now start adjusting these ones, so that you don't have a problem like I'm facing now, where I'm adjusting it multiple times. Okay, so this is how you do so this is how you do. I'm going to remove outline for the entire chart so it doesn't have. So I can then copy this or even cut it and go here and paste. So I can paste here for my boss. So they can see this is what they will see. Let me make this fill no fill. So this is what they will see. And every time this is adjusting, let me send this to the back. So every time this is adjusting, it's annoying. So every time this is adjusting, all right, you see. So this can be actually the result of a calculation, actual versus target or something else. Just make sure it comes in a percentage. So when this adjusts, you see my pointer adjusts, right? So this is how you can create I know some other people try to do a kind of like a linked image so that it looks neater. So when someone clicks on this, it doesn't come down. Let's also do that. So if I take this and take it back here, all right. I copy this. This is the annoying thing with my version now. So if I copy this, come in here, I paste. Let me use what's my time? Oh boy. Okay, you know what? I'm going to leave that part out. I wanted to use a camera effect. So I'm going to just leave that part out then. At least you've gotten out how to do the gauge. So that part is just supposed to be an effigy. So that will, I'm going to have a cropped image of this. That is now going to, let me just try it once more. Copy, paste as image. Then this is going to be equal. Okay. I need to crop something somewhere. Let me just adjust the bits again. Maybe this should be up to 18. Just that again, 17. So I'm going to grab this one, put it here, and adjust it. So that's the annoying thing with that one. You just have to ensure that the position doesn't change. So, but you got the whole idea. So I'm going to just leave that part and move on to the next one. Any questions at this junction? All right, so now you know how to do a gauge. So we move on to the topic number what now? Topic number where I have everything here. Waterfall charts. So originally I was meant to ask you a question. Well, it's not too late to ask you. So I'm going to go to where I have the question, mentimeter.com. So I need you to please help me with this question. So I need you to fill this for me so that way I can quickly get some insight into. So have you done a gauge before? So you can always do this easily by going to menti.com and enter code 57 25 54 9. So that way we can quickly just get some background knowledge. I'm going to also grab the direct share link. So let me even do that now. Let me grab us the direct share link. So if I grab the link, copy this link, go back to present mode. Now this link that I've copied, let me drop it in the chat box. Okay. So once you fill it, I'm going to see your answers. So please try to fill it. So this gauge that we just did, have you done it before? Have you, yes or no? As you fill your answers, it's going to pop up in here. I have two more things to show. So please, if you can be a bit fast, so that, okay, so one answer has popped in. Hoping to see more answers before I move on to the next question. Maybe if I see two more answers, I move on to the next question. You can use the direct link I pasted in the chat box. If you click on that link, it takes you straight to this question. Okay, so not too many people have used it. So that can become, maybe, do you find it useful or not? But do you think it's useful? Do you think it's, so maybe I've always been listening to the wrong crowd. The people I see who talk about this thing, they talk about it as if it's something that is so big, they must have, I've had some MDs, I've had if you see sea level exec, I want this thing to be as a gauge, a pointer, a speedometer, so that I can see. They talk so enthusiastically about it that I guess that's why some people have to go through crazy lengths to achieve it in Excel. Because in Power BI, it's there as something you can do easily. So I'm going to move on to. So this is a very good feedback. I guess the follow-on question should be: do you think it's useful? You can write that one in the chat box so you can answer. Do you think it's something you will use? So I want to go to waterfall. Have you used Have you created a waterfall chart before? And the way, if yes, did you use the new Excel way? Did you use the whole column chart way? So which you are going to do together? I'm going to show you the two ways. And if the answer is no, to indicate. So that way again, I get to get some kind of feedback, because actually maybe the audience I'm always with are a very skewed, not a very general audience. So this helps me to put things in perspective, so I don't just assume the 10, 15 people I'm always talking to are representative of the general universe of Excel users. Okay, so waiting for just one more. Oh, thank you, Mr. Lagi. He says the gauge chart is something he's going to find useful. So thank you. Okay, so that means the 30 minutes we spent on it is not all in vain. Okay, so and then the final question is, because of time, let me just skip this one for now. We'll come back to it, right? So now let's go to waterfall. Okay. So waterfall is a kind of chart that when you do it ends up like this. So there are two ways. There used to be the old way. This is the old way, where people have to layer on stacked charts, stacked column charts, to achieve this loop. But now there's a direct waterfall chart in Excel. That with this, if you use the Excel 2016 and above, you don't have to use the old way. This old way can be really problematic. Even for me, I know how to do it, but then when I don't do it for a long time, I forget that I start making funny mistakes that, I will not be like, if you see me doing it, maybe you've called me, say, oh, Michael, come and help me do this waterfall. I don't know how to do it, and somebody has done it. And your version doesn't have the new type of Excel. Then, sorry for that. Then you will just see that I'm doing try and error at first, because I know what I need to mix up, but there are some very fine calculations you need to do. So let's start with the easy way anyway. So I'm going to go and grab some data for us to use. So say that we get some dummy data for us. Dummy data. Here we come. Good. So let's start with the new way. New way, typically you will have period. So let's say period starts. There's going to be the start of the period. So period starts. Let's use our own period as a particular year. Okay. So let's say for January, February, let's just use it this way. January, February, all the way to December. And then period end. Okay. Let me grab this as a year, as a year and month kind of stuff. So 3 for the month, 4 for the year. Let me do that. Okay. like that kind of labeling. It doesn't matter that it's going to look like a text now, so that's not important. I just want the month and the year to be together. All right, so and then the values. So if at the start of the period, let's say I'm just going to use some fictitious amounts. So let's say we had in our cash flow or opening stock or whatsoever it is. Say we had 1 million. We had 1 million. Then over the course of the year, we have ups and downs, like sometimes positive movement, sometimes negative movement, right? So I'm just going to do run between. Run between, say, 100 and I don't know, say 250,000. Okay. So now that I've done that, okay. So the thing is that there will be some periods where it's a loss. There's a negative movement. So let us do something like that, seeding some negative periods in there. Let's put in one more somewhere. Let me even put 2 consecutive negative periods. So the end of period is going to be the summation, right? Okay. So this is what we ended with. This is what we started with. These are the individual movements, monthly movement. So to do this with the new Excel, when I say new Excel 2016 and above, life is easy. Just select your values, right? And then go to insert. You are going to see waterfall charts. And just pick it. So once you pick the waterfall chart, right, this is what will come up. Let me just make it a bit bigger or a lot bigger. Now, the thing is, you need to specifically let Excel know which is the start and which is the end, right? So I'm going to click on the start once, click on it again. So it's the only thing selected. I'm going to right click and say set as total. So you might not notice any much difference, but you're going to notice a lot of difference when I do the same to this. So I'm going to do likewise for the end period and say set as total. Voila. And waterfall is done. So this is our waterfall chart. Waterfall Excel 2016 and above. So life is easy. And the cool thing that you get, that you don't get with the old kind of hacky way, is there is a line. Let me zoom my screen so you can see. That's why it's called a waterfall. There's a line. Can you see that there's a line here? There's a line that flows from the top of one period to the next. There's a line joining, just like the water is flowing from one conduit to another. So let me let that line visible for you. If I delete this background lines, can you see that there are lines flowing from one period to the next? With our hacky way, the other way, the old way, we can't have that effect. So now that we know this one, we're going to put it one way, put it aside. So how do you achieve this using using the old way? If you don't have the new version of Excel. So in the old way, we have to do some things. You will have to create 3 new columns. So we're going to have to create 3 new columns. Sorry that I'm pointing at the camera. I'm looking away from the camera. I'm looking at my screen where the data is. But this is where the camera that is showing my faces. So just bear with me. We need 3 things. You can call it whatever, but this captures perfectly well those 3 things we need. Something that will be like a base, something that will be like a fall, and another thing that will be like a rise. So that base, for the start period, there's not going to be anything on the base. Okay, so base is not going to have anything. Then fall fall is going to be, okay, fall is going to be an if. So if the value here is less than 0, and then what do I want? I want this to be minus whatever is there. So it should be minus whatever is there, otherwise 0. So this one is my fall, and that's what I'm going to drag all the way to just, I think I can drag it to the end anyway, it doesn't matter. So I drag that to the end, and then rise is going to be something similar. By the way, in case you didn't notice, I put a minus to knock off the negative sign. You need that too. So if what I have here is greater than or equal to 0, right? Then give it to me as it is. Otherwise, 0. So that is going to be my rise. Okay. Let me zoom so that you see. Let me maybe somewhere here tell you the formula that is feeding them. Okay, I can do it here anyway. Formula text. So at least you can see the formula. And I'm going to do likewise for this. I'm going to do likewise for this. Okay. So once I drag this down, you see that. Okay. So this is when it is greater than. When this is greater than 0, it should bring it to a rise. If it is less than 0, it should bring it to a fall. All right. Now the base. Nothing is going to be in the base at the beginning, but then subsequently, I'm going to share this file with us anyway. Subsequently, there's going to be something there, and this is where even me, I make mistake if I do not do this thing, maybe like for the next 1 year. Is this base part that can be fall and rise is very, without you having to check where you have done it before. It's always easy to know that when it's a rise, you want to reflect on the rise column. When it's a fall, you should reflect on the fall column. The here is where, if you don't get the formula right, well, for me, this is where sometimes I forget. So base is going to be that previous base, right? Minus current fall. It is this minus current fall that is my own accuracy. So that's why I'm mentioning it again. Hopefully, by the time I do it in presentations and I have enough embarrassing moment to stick permanently. And then plus the previous rise. But if you think about the logic, that is it anyway. So this is the critical component of this entire build-up. Once you get this portion correctly done, then you won't have any much problem. Every other thing becomes a what to make colorless, what to make visible. So just to make this thing easy for you to read, okay, so you can see the formula here. Previous base minus current fall plus previous rise. So finish. So now when you want to plot the charts, you are not going to include this one. So what people usually do so that they don't have too much stress, you can just drag this somewhere else. I can take this and move it somewhere else. So that way I don't stress myself too much. Because these are the things you are going to plot. These are the ones you will plot. So what do? I'm going to select this, right? I think for this my base, one of them is not needed. I think these ones are not going to reach the end. So they are not going to reach the end. Let me just drag these ones here. Because actually at the end, just as at the beginning, I have just one value having stops. At the end too, I need to have just one place having stops. So good. And that is the thing we need. I select everything. I go to insert. I go to a column chart. So what we are going to use is the stacked with this one. This is the one we're going to use. So it's the stacked column chart. That's what we're going to use. So I pick the stacked column chart. So obviously, we need to make the base to disappear. We need to make the base disappear. So what do? I'm going to select the base, and I'm going to say, bros, you need to go invisible. We don't need to see you. And are you seeing that it's kind of looking like it already, right? So I need one more. I need the base here, this last one. I need to bring it back. So let's say the total, we make it color gray. So we can make the total color gray. Like, is this type of gray or this type of gray? This type of gray. I think it's this type of gray. Okay, gray. Then these ones that are rice, I can make color blue or green, shiny green. So I need to specifically make this one gray so that so this is let's make it really red instead of orange. So I can make this red. Our work is done. I can knock off this one, because nobody really needs to see that one. And this is our waterfall, right? I can put them side by side with the one I've done before, and you will see that it's same style, the same, just that obviously one is easier to make. See? This is looking malnourished. So let me increase the width. If I reduce the gap, it's going to increase in size. I'm going to do likewise for these two. I'm going to do likewise for the red. Okay. So if you ask me, this is it. Any questions? So this is how you do manual, and this is how you do the old version waterfall from column charts. Remember, I'm going to share the link. So if you stay to the end, you're going to get the link directly in the chat box. You won't have to wait for an email. So I think my time is up. Huh? What did I say I was going to do next? Scenarios. Well, let's see how we can quickly do this one also. So let me see. So there are times that people want to make plans, right? And so in the plans, you want to be able to allow for things to change dynamically. Maybe exchange rates, inflation rates, unit price, cost price. You know, some things that you don't have control over. And you want to be able to say, okay, I want my model, my forecast, my plan to be dynamic, such a way that someone can change those things and to reflect in my output, in my model output. So let's see. So imagine that we have been doing some volume before now. Maybe we've been doing volume of every year we've been selling about 500,000 quantities of face masks. Maybe last year we did a lot because of COVID-19. So we sold 900,000 quantities, right? So we feel that we're going to do a lot better, kind of. So we said, okay, conservatively, we're going to be doing, maybe we're going to do 1.2 million this year. We're going to do 1.5 million the year after. And maybe COVID will no longer be there. People will no longer need to use stuff like before, and volume is going to come down again, and maybe kind of flat out to 1.2. Right? Now, this is one of possible outcomes, right? So we could be like, okay, what if we do better? What if we do, really better? What if we do better? What if we do 1.2 what we put as our base case or conservative. Okay, and then what if we do worse? What if we do worse than what we conservatively planned? You know, so these are ways of me allowing for different opinions in my plan, in my projection, right? So how am I going to make all of this to reflect, to be captured, to be tied to a very flexible tool that allows you to specify the scenario you want to run, and that is what will play out, right? So let us try it out. So there are two ways. There is one way of you just coming here and naming all your scenarios. So you call this scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3. So if you name your scenarios, then with that, we can do an input sheet for the scenarios, right? So we can do something where someone can type 1, and that's what will happen, right? So we need a formula to make that happen. That formula is going to be equal to, there are many ways, but I use index a lot more. So I use index more because index kinds of where I prefer. There's nothing else to say than just that I prefer. So I pick the options and I pick the selection the user has made, right? So I say, okay, if you pick option 1, then my index is going to return option 1. If you pick option 2, my index will return option 2. So that's what the index does. The list of options, right? And what the person has specified as what he wants, okay? So that's not too much of a problem to drag, right? And it's all of this that I'm going to just replicate, here. So I'm going to just grab this. Because of time, I'm not going to adjust my cell reference, which is a very lazy thing for me to do, or lazy thing of me. Maybe I should anyway. Let's just say I do. So I'm going to adjust it so that the row can change. The row can change. Another one. So let's drag this here. Drag this here. Okay, good. So let's say unit price. Before last year, we've been selling this thing at a 150 naira per one. For last year, our average unit price has been 250 because everything has gone up in price. And then this year too, in fact, we want to conservatively say that that price of 250 is what will keep happening maybe for the next 3 years, and then maybe before it goes to 300. And then, I can just copy my algorithm here and paste here. Copy as I have done a formula there and paste here. That's it, right? So again, we can do our formula index, the set of options, right? Because this is the main thing, that's why I'm repeating this part. The set of options, whatever option the user picks. Now I need to make that whatever the option the user picks absolute, so that I can drag. Okay. And then let's say for unit cost, it's been costing us, maybe it's been costing us 17 naira to make. And then this year it cost us 18 naira, and this year actually the cost went up. And we think it's going to cost 120 naira, and then gradually it costs 180 naira to make. Okay. So similarly, I use this, but this is the main thing that achieves the the dynamism. Index, the set of options, comma, the option number the user has picked, and I drag. So what have we achieved? If you come in here and you say scenario 1, all of this begins to be scenario 1, right? Right? If you come in and you say scenario 3, all of that begins to be scenario 3. And so what we normally do is, instead of letting the person type, we put in a drop-down option for the person. So one easy way is to go in here and do data validation and pick lists, right? Can you see my screen? I pick lists and then I provide the option number 1, 2, 3, right? And I say, okay. Maybe I also say yes, select scenario. Select the scenario to simulate for. To simulate or model for. Okay. And what happens now is that whenever you come here, you see this select the scenario to simulate or model for in the output, and boom, there's a drop down. Now, what makes this really interesting is that if I have somewhere else in my Excel file, it could be towards the end of like many sheets into the front, right? And I need to show revenue, I need to show cost of goods, I need to show maybe overall profit we're making, return on investment, and some other things, right? What I'm doing is that I am linking to make them pick from the outcome of my scenario. So volume is going to pick from here. I drag forward, but let's do for everything before I drag. And then unit price is going to pick from here. And then same thing, volume is going to pick from volume. Unit cost is going to pick from unit cost. And so from there, we can calculate things like gross margin. We can calculate gross margin. We can calculate gross profit too. So maybe I drag this one down. Gross profit. So maybe these are the kind of outputs that at least we want to see instantly. So we know revenue is going to be equal to this, the volume times the unit price. Similarly, cost of goods is going to be the volume times the unit cost, right? So if I do all of these and drag, right, then we can know our gross profit, which is going to be equal to the revenue minus the cost of goods sold, right? And I drag, and then we can also know, let me just reduce the spacing so everything shows on the screen. Okay, good. From there too, we can know our gross margin, which is going to be the profits divided by the revenue. And I'm going to make this in percentage. So I drag this. So now I want you to watch something, particularly the forecast period. So I want you to watch for these forecast periods. The figures are going to change. The figures are always going to be changing based on the scenario the user selects. So take a look at this. This is 64. In fact, let me just copy this and paste as value at the bottom. So paste as value with the number format at the bottom. Okay, great. Now, if the user goes here and select a different scenario, select scenario 3, I bet you all of these has changed. Can you see? All these figures have changed. So this is how people create dynamism in their model in such a way that someone comes somewhere and select a scenario or specifies a different scenario from what has been in the model, and it will carry over to the output side of the model. Okay, so that is it. I'm going to now share with us this file, so you can be able to practice and practice what I have done, and what has happened to the gauge. Let me copy this gauge and put in here too, so that at least you get to see the work of your hands. So let me share with us. Any question while I try to do the sharing? Any questions on what we've done so far? The recording is going to be available as usual by tomorrow, I guess it will be up. So I want to upload it on the place where I can get you a direct link for you to download. So, any questions so far? Did you find what we covered today valuable? Are there any gray areas, any questions you want me to take in the next, maybe say 3-4 minutes? So, I'm going to upload it here, and then I'll get you the download link. So, upload. Thank you, Mr. Ladi, for the feedback. So, trying to upload the file, so I can grab for us a share link, a direct download link anyway. I think it's in download. Okay, so practice file for this should be financial modeling office. This one. Upload. That should be done in some seconds. Okay, so I'm going to just go to F. This is it. I'm going to copy the URL and I'm going to paste here. So download the practice file here. So I'm giving us a download link. Okay, so Mr. Ladi is saying if you can just expand the formula bar for us to see how you came up with the gauge formula. Gauge. I didn't use a formula for the gauge. Let me just open the practice file. This is a gauge. The gauge does not have formula as such. It's just more of us doing 3 different charts, one on top of the other. So I'm a bit confused. The only part I think has a formula is this one, which is it's just a way of you saying everything must always equal 200. So the way to dynamically know what you should add with what you have done to achieve the 200 scale. Okay, is this what you mean by the formula for the gauge? Mr. Ladi, is this what you mean?
Okay. No. At the point where you change the percentage for it to be dynamic, the cell in the other Excel works. Yeah, there, yeah.
There's no formula here. So here is where it is. So actually in real life, because I don't want to make things look too pigeonholed, most times some people can do this against, say, maybe sales and targets. So let's say maybe you do a sales, maybe someone did a sales of 80 million naira, and maybe he was given a target of say 108 million. So maybe this is what you achieved, million naira. But what you are giving is something else. So if I want to do your achievement, achievement is going to be, well, what you did divided by what you were given as a target. So you kind of did 74% achievement. So usually this will come normally from some other things that you are tracking as your KPI achievement. So for some other people, it could be budget utilization. For some other people, it could be something that is HSC related. Some other people, HR could be like sick leave. It could be anything for anybody, or anything you want to see on a scale of good, average, bad. Then it's a very nice candidate for this stage. So thank you very, very much. It's been a wonderful session with us today. I think I've been lucky today. We got, at least whenever I'm the one doing the session. It has been long we got this number of people we got today. I think we've got how many? At the point I saw 14. So thank you very much. If you're interested in the community, so that you will always be abreast of all the events, let me get to the community joining link. So you would always be abreast of the community joining link. So that you will always be aware of all the sessions running and resources. So even when you don't join, you'll be able to get the download email, the resources, the recording. So join the community for reminder, for practice files that were shared, and for video recording. So these are the community links. There is for Excel, there is for financial modeling, which is the one we are just doing now. There's also for Power BI for those interested. So I'm just going to dump the 3 links. So that way you join the ones that catch your fancy or all of them. So thank you very, very much. I hope to see you again next week, or see you for the other sessions we have today. It's been a pleasure. Have a nice week ahead. Bye.